Imagine walking along the River Thames in the summer of 1858. The sun is blazing, the water barely moves, and the smell is unbearable. The river doesn't flow with clean water. It's a soup of human waste, dead animals, and industrial sludge. And it's so bad, the smell alone is shutting down Parliament. This is the true story of the Great Stink, the summer when London became almost unlivable, and the stench of its own sewage finally forced the city to change forever. In the early 19th century, London was booming, but the city's population was exploding faster than its infrastructure. By the 1850s, over 2.5 million people lived in London, and every one of them needed a place for their waste to go. Unfortunately, that place was the Thames. People dumped everything into the river: raw sewage, industrial waste, household garbage. Some even tossed in dead dogs and livestock. There were no proper sewer systems, and many homes simply had cesspools that overflowed directly into the streets, which then washed into the river during rainstorms. By 1858, the river was more of a cesspit than a waterway. And then came the heat wave. That summer, London experienced a brutal stretch of high temperatures. The heat cooked the stagnant sewage in the river, turning the Thames into a giant, bubbling vat of filth. The smell wasn't just unpleasant, it was horrifying. It seeped into buildings. It clung to clothes. It invaded Parliament. Lawmakers tried soaking curtains in lime and dousing everything with vinegar, but it didn't help. People gagged walking through the streets. Newspapers called it the Great Stink. But this wasn't just a gross inconvenience. It was deadly. The city had already suffered multiple cholera outbreaks in previous years, killing tens of thousands. Most people still didn't understand that sewage in drinking water was the real killer. Many believed in miasma, the idea that bad smells themselves caused disease. Ironically, it was the smell, not the science, that finally triggered action. Parliament was in session that summer, and the stench was so powerful it forced them to cut meetings short. The Prime Minister and even Queen Victoria expressed disgust. It was no longer possible to ignore the problem. Enter Sir Joseph Bazalgette, a civil engineer with a vision and a steel stomach. He proposed an ambitious plan: build a modern sewer system that would carry waste away from the city, instead of dumping it into the river. People were skeptical. The cost would be enormous, and the logistics nearly impossible. But the stink was too strong, and Bazalgette had political backing. So construction began. Over the next several years, London dug deep beneath its streets, building nearly 100 miles of underground sewers. Massive pumping stations were installed. Brick tunnels were reinforced. The waste was redirected far downstream, away from the city and the noses of its citizens. It was one of the greatest engineering feats of the 19th century. By the time the system was completed in the 1870s, cholera outbreaks had vanished. The Thames slowly returned to life. Fish came back, the water ran clearer, and most importantly, the city no longer stank. The Great Stink of 1858 was more than just a smelly summer. It was a turning point. It showed how public outrage, politics, and engineering could combine to solve even the filthiest of problems. And Sir Joseph Bazalgette? His sewer system was so well built that parts of it are still in use today, more than 160 years later. So next time you're walking along a river, grateful it doesn't smell like a toilet. Thank London's Great Stink. Because it took one of history's worst smells to create one of the world's best sewage systems. If you enjoyed this story of filthy history, make sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more untold tales from the past. Right here on Untold History in 5. Thanks for watching. Bye.